This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
Civic Media News. I'm Terry Bell. Here's what Wisconsin needs to know. Vice President Kamala Harris campaigns in Wisconsin today as the newly minted Democratic frontrunner for president. She's speaking in Milwaukee.
It is my intention to go out and earn this nomination and to win.
That's Harris speaking yesterday at the former Biden campaign headquarters in Delaware. Virtually all of Wisconsin's Democratic delegates are supporting her at their convention next month. And practically all of Wisconsin's top elected Democrats are endorsing Harris for president. That list includes Governor Evers and U.S. Representatives Gwen Moore and Mark Pocan. Other endorsements are coming from Senator Tammy Baldwin, Madison Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway, and Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson. 89 of Wisconsin's 95 delegates to the Democratic National Convention say they're supporting Kamala Harris for president. Wisconsin Democratic Party Chair Ben Wickler.
I have not heard anyone share with me that they would oppose Vice President Harris as the nominee of our party, and I have every confidence that as we move to November, we will be fully united as a party.
Everything old will be new again at this year's Democratic Convention. Delegates and not primary voters will choose the nominee for the first time in about 50 years. Mike Wagner teaches journalism and politics at the University of Wisconsin in Madison.
Primaries were not binding until the 1970s. And so we're really in a small way kind of reverting back to a convention where the party elites will be choosing the nominee.
That's Wagner speaking with Civic Media. Lockdowns are lifted at two troubled Wisconsin state prisons. Green Bay and Waupun were locked down for several months. 4 inmates died at Waupun during that time. Calls are growing to close the Green Bay prison. Mercury Marine is laying off 1,700 workers temporarily to make production adjustments. The layoffs will happen a week at a time for a total of up to 8 weeks now through the end of the year and will impact mostly hourly employees. Mercury made 300 permanent job cuts last month. The company blames lower demand. 2 people are dead after a plane crash near the EAA Air Venture in Oshkosh yesterday, the first day of the world's largest fly-in. All operations at Whitman Regional Airport were shut down. The names of the victims were being withheld this morning. The National Transportation Safety Board is looking into why it happened. I'm Terry Bell, Civic Media News. Now here's what you need to know closer to home.
For WXCO Bull Falls Radio News, I'm Melissa Kay. If you still need an ID to vote in the August 13th primary, you can get one at the DMV for free. U.S. citizens who will be at least 18 years of age by the next election should begin online. You can find the list of required documents at wisconsindmv.gov. Remember, there's no separate voter ID. You can use a valid driver's license, identification card, military or student ID card. A federally compliant real ID card is not required for voting purposes. If you're questioning whether your identification meets the requirements, you can visit the Wisconsin Election Commission website to check it at bringit.wi.gov. There are 6 members of the 3rd Congressional District Democrats of Wisconsin who are heading to the Democratic National Convention. All 6 have endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the 2024 Democratic nominee for president. Last year, EAA Air Venture broke attendance records with over 600,000 visitors from 93 countries. EAA communications specialist Drew Stephanie said he expects this year to be another big one.
A lot of the attendance is going to depend on the weather, but I would say looking at the forecast so far, I think we're going to be on par with prior years. I certainly think we're expecting more than 600,000 to walk through the doors throughout the week.
Admission for children 17 and younger is free at EAA this year thanks to the Boeing Company. If you're looking for a place to volunteer in Marathon County, Wausau Area Mobile Meals is looking for volunteers. They need help packaging meals for delivery from 9 to 11 a.m. at Aspirus Hospital Kitchen. You can email wamobilemeals@yahoo.com with questions. You've probably heard the term bird flu in the news a lot over the last 2 years. During that time, more than 97 million commercial and backyard birds across the country have been affected. Experts are working on ways to respond quickly to detections of the HPAI virus. Rob Mitchitz is one of the experts and a faculty member at UW-Stevens Point. Mitchitz is a professor of soil and waste resources. He's a specialist in using compost for animal mortality management. He leads teams to take care of the disposal of affected birds and eggs during an outbreak. They have developed a 28-day protocol where they compost the deceased birds and clean the facilities. The team makes sure the piles have a high, consistent temperature to kill the virus. Once the piles are deemed free of the bird flu, the farmers can use it as fertilizer. EAA AirVenture 2024 is underway at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. EAA Communications Specialist Drew Stefani said air shows will be a big draw for visitors.
As part of the air shows, the snowbirds are going to be one of the big headlines this year, kind of at the tail end of the week. But then earlier in the week, we're going to have the Italian aerobatic team, as well as several other demo jet teams, your F-35s, your F-22s, F-16s, all that sort of fun stuff, too. So there's going to be plenty to see throughout the week.
EAA runs through Sunday, July 28th. Governor Tony Evers recognizes Aviation Week, July 22nd through the 28th. The declaration coincides with EAA AirVenture in Oshkosh, which is known as the world's greatest aviation celebration, producing $170 million in economic impact for the region. And that's what you need to know. I'm Melissa Kay for WXCO Bull Falls Radio.
The Brewers lose to the Cubs. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers and Cubs battled at Wrigley Field. Chicago went through 6 pitchers to keep the Brewer bats at bay. Milwaukee made some costly errors in the field and lost the game 3-1. Brewers manager Pat Murphy.
You know, our bullpen was a little taxed tonight, but Milner did a great job. And credit to the Cubs. They played in the clutch. They did what they had to do. And they pitched great, 6 different guys, and they kept us at bay. We had opportunity and, didn't get that big hit.
Game 2 of the 3-game series is tonight. NFL, Jordan Love at practice, but will not suit up until he has a new contract. General Manager Brian Gutekunst talked about the 25-year-old quarterback at the team shareholders meeting.
Jordan Love. Jordan not only developed into one of the game's more exciting playmakers, his steady demeanor and leadership allowed our group to weather the storm and find our confidence as the season moved along. We're working very diligently to sign him to a long-term extension.
With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Another box office record falls thanks to Twisters. The Twister sequel opened at number 1 at last week's box office, pulling in $80 million plus at the gate. It was the largest opening ever for a natural disaster film in America. Twisters is the 3rd biggest opening of the year so far, behind Inside Out 2, which pulled in $155 million in its opening weekend, and Dune Part 2, which pulled in $82 million. As well as Twisters performed domestically, it underperformed overseas, pulling in about $42 million. That's still a lot of scratch. Neon Studios' surprise hit Longlegs continues to have long legs at the box office, pulling in almost $12 million and totaling $44 million in 2 weekends. The film cost less than $10 million to make. Other milestones reached include Despicable Me 4, which has now pulled in $260 million domestically, and Inside Out 2, which should pass $600 million at the domestic box office this week. It's 6th in theaters. So much for a summer slump. Typically, when a comedy club has co-headliners, it means neither one of the comics are ready to headline. The other night in New York City, it was just the opposite, as Dave Chappelle and Jon Stewart took the stage Saturday night in Harlem at the Apollo Theater for one show only. Stewart opened and Chappelle closed. Both men tackled the subjects of Trump, Biden, Gaza, fame, and Ohio's men. Cell phones were not allowed in the theater, so there will be no pirated copies on YouTube, but I'm really hoping they put this out as a special. If you were a fan of the show Homicide: Life on the Street, you'll be able to give it a rewatch soon. If you've never seen the Baltimore-based show, which starred the late Andre Braugher as Detective Frank Pembleton, I highly recommend it. Despite being a network show, it was more like a gritty streamer before there was streaming. Homicide was created by David Simon, who also created The Wire. The former NBC show will be available to stream on Peacock starting August 19th. Brendan Fraser likes Ike and will portray him in a new film called Pressure. The film tells the story of the D-Day invasion where troops stormed the beaches at Normandy. The Oscar-winning actor portrays the Supreme Allied Commander Eisenhower. Variety reports that Ripley star Andrew Scott will portray Britain's chief meteorological officer, James Stagg. Stagg informed Eisenhower of weather conditions that were crucial to the Normandy invasion. The project is in the early stages of pre-production. The Simpsons have done it again. The New York Post reports that in an episode from the year 2000 called Bart to the Future, Lisa Simpson becomes the first female president of the United States. In the episode, she is wearing the exact same outfit that Kamala Harris wore during the 2021 inauguration, right down to the pearl necklace and earrings. Simpsons writer Al Jean posted a picture of Lisa next to Harris in their matching outfits. Let's see if life will imitate art. For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 7 to 9 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mostly cloudy with scattered showers and thunderstorms today. Our high 75 this afternoon with wind out of the west at 5 to 15. Tonight, gradual clearing, 58. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, cooler and less humid. Our high tomorrow, 74. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 64.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com.